we begin, I want to invite you to join my Astro Cohort. We are beginning on February 2nd. We are going to be learning astrology, diving into who you are as a spiritual and human being, and learning tools for how to navigate life as we know it. This is a beautiful, comprehensive course where you get to work one-on-one with me and join a group of like-minded souls. If you want to learn more, visit electraastrology.com. Huge thank you to everybody that came to my season by season vision workshop. It was a great success. I'm going to be holding another one in March, so I hope that you come. This is a great way to just gather in community and understand what we are going through collectively so that we can support one another, and most importantly, just get a sense of what we're working with as we're moving into uncharted territories in the skies, which always affect us on the planet. I'm so excited because today we begin our teachings on Vesta. If you are new here, I go through all of the facets of all of the sun signs, which I've been doing for the last year. I'm also re-releasing the podcast episodes on star narratives that I talked about last year, and I'm releasing them on YouTube so that it's a standalone body of work. So you guys can come back and hit those teachings really easily as often as you want, because these are really powerful teachings for all of us to understand ourselves a little bit better and to make connections. And you're always going to hear different things when you re-listen to something. So I invite you to check out, we're currently going through Capricorn season because the sun is in Capricorn. But I'm also doing an asteroid series. So I began with the asteroid series, and then I've gone through Pallas Athena, and today we start with Vesta. So make sure that you listen to those. The asteroids always give us a little extra description of the archetypes of what we're all dealing with. And we all have every single sign, every single asteroid in our chart, because these things are always in the sky. So we always have the influence of these archetypes. They're impacting us. Sometimes it's stronger than others, but they are here to help us understand. I use astrology as an organizing tool just to help you understand your own psychology. And I weave in a bunch of spiritual practice as well, because we are, after all, spiritual beings having a human experience. So if you like my style and you would like to book with me a private reading, you'd like to look into an apprenticeship or a mentorship, please find me at electraastrology.com. And let's get started with the asteroid Vesta. All right. First, though, take a deep breath and just land right here in the present moment. We are focusing our attention on the body, on the experience, on the field of awareness as you are experiencing it right now. And if you tune in, especially to your body is the vehicle that is experiencing the awareness most acutely right now. Our minds like to come in and interpret, but our minds are very inaccurate, as I talked about all through Gemini season. So you can catch those episodes. But what we are doing right now is we are tuning into the physical body and noticing what we feel, noticing what is happening in the nervous system. Notice what is happening in your head, in your joints, in your back, in your abdomen, and so on. There's something potent about coming into the present moment and turning your brain down a little bit, bringing the volume of the outside world to a lower level so that you can briefly experience the internal world. And as we move into our teachings on Vesta, Vesta is the keeper of the sacred flame. And when we're looking at Vesta in the natal chart, the glyph for Vesta actually looks like two little squiggly letter V's, one on top of another, and it represents the flame. And with Vesta in the chart, although asteroids are feminine mostly, and so we talk about this as an extra layer of our feminine nature, but men have feminine natures as well. But we're talking about the energy of focus, of bringing our attention to something and really giving our attention to that thing, with the objective being to tune out the rest of the world. You'll hear me refer to Vesta as the archetype of the temple. And you can look at where Vesta lands in your chart, and you can do that by going to astro.com and choosing extended chart selection. You'll get a drop-down menu and you can choose Vesta. You can see where Vesta lands in your chart, in the house and the sign. And I'll probably go into those in later episodes, but for now, Google is your friend. And wherever Vesta lands is your higher self's way of telling you that this is where you need to focus. This is where you go. This is the temple that you must enter into in order to find your peace. And so the mythology of Vesta is multifaceted. It has some of my favorite and most interesting and actually somewhat disturbing mythology of the asteroids that I use in my charts when I'm doing readings. And so I want to start off just by sharing a little bit about Vesta. So she is the keeper of the sacred flame. Vesta is depicted as a moderately dressed woman, and she is known for her perpetual virginity. So Vesta and Virgo have something in common. Now I want to talk about the Vestal virgins because this is a big piece of the story. So this was a group of 6 priestesses that were chosen in childhood to keep the flame burning in Rome's temples. These 6 priestesses were very revered. They were actually given extra rights that the women of that time were not given. They were allowed to own property, and they were considered to be royalty. Their job from childhood until the age of 30 was to remain chaste and virginal, and to make sure that the sacred flames did not go out, because if they were to go out, it would have been considered a very bad omen. Now, one of the pieces that I find disturbing about Vesta is that these women were chosen at a very young age. They probably didn't have the choice as to whether to be chosen. Although they were given extra rights, it was expected that they remained virginal. And if there was a Vestal virgin that was to become sexually active, it would be punishable by being buried alive. And in the research that I've done, being buried alive in a catacomb with enough food and water to last some time. So it was a very slow, torturous death, one can imagine, where you are trapped, buried, given enough to last long enough, but a slow and wasting death, because being sexually active for a Vestal virgin was also considered to be a bad omen. So diving into that, and just that facet, that's only one facet of the mythology. Diving into that, and we are looking at the meaning of Vesta's flame as the hearth of our own soul, and how important it is to tend to that flame within us, to come to the place where we are as self-focused as possible, not in a narcissistic or selfish way, but in the way that I just brought you into, where you are taking cleansing breaths and you are coming into the present moment, using those breaths as a way to soothe the nervous system. The understanding that when we have devotion to ourselves, to our own internal flame, that it brings clarity and fulfillment. And we did not choose necessarily to come to this planet. It was chosen. At least our human selves did not. Our souls did. But our human selves, we had to start at the beginning. We have had many moments in our life where we felt like, I wish I wasn't here. I didn't choose this. Why would I have this life? Why would this experience be happening to me? But we always have that inner temple that we can go into, although many of us, it takes years to even understand that that temple is there. And we know that if we're just going to use the metaphor of Vesta, that when we are out acting in our shadow. And it's not to say that sexual activity is shadow by any means, but when we are out giving ourselves away, doing the things that we know are not in alignment for what we're here to do or what we committed to do, when we are being pulled off of our path by one thing or another, it can indeed feel like a slow death. It can feel like we are parched and starving and in the dark. And in fact, I think we can also compare a dark night of the soul to a similar feeling of being in a catacomb and not knowing how to get out and having to face ourselves in a deeper way. And perhaps in that catacomb is where you get reacquainted with the temple, that part of you, that is guiding you, that is here to help you connect with your higher self and with your higher power. And so in order to really utilize this particular aspect of Vesta in our own charts, it's really important that we first understand that we have on some level made a commitment to ourselves. And that as we understand that and our knowledge begins to unfold of how important it is to tend to what's here, to develop practices that bring us back into the temple, that bring us into our ability to pray and to connect in with our higher self. And in a reading, I will tell people the Vestal temple is where you go when you need the answers, when you need a decision, when you're feeling confused or overwhelmed, but you must leave your cell phone at the door. You must leave your friends and family at the door. You must leave your shoes at the door, and you must enter quietly, with reverence, without distraction, prepared to sit in silence, connect in with higher power, and allow that conduit to open. So a lot of times things like meditation and ritual and prayer are very helpful in bringing you into this Vestal part of you. This part of you that says, I am making a commitment to myself. I don't want to drain my energy over here. I don't want to become distracted over there. I want to come to myself. I want to honor myself. I want to tend to my own inner flame to make sure that it doesn't go out, because if the flame goes out, I'm of no good to anybody, including myself. And that, we could say, is a bad omen. And so we must, with Vesta, learn how to, of course, live our daily lives, do the things that are outside, because it's not like we can sit in a temple all day. None of us are here in this lifetime doing that anyway. But part of working with Vesta is figuring out how to meet all of the needs without getting burnt out. And we get those answers by tuning in, by coming in to a deeper connection with ourselves. Because a lot of times, and I made this connection between Vesta and the sign of Virgo, we know that when our Virgo kicks in, and I did great Virgo episodes during Virgo season, they're on Star Narrative, so check those out if you miss them. But we know that our Virgo is the energy that kicks in, that commits us to all of the things, that makes us feel obligated, that is always trying to overwhelm us because we want to be good. We want to do the right thing. We want the approval. But we have to be really discerning, as I teach every time I teach Virgo. We have to be really discerning with where we're willing to spread our time and energy out, because, first of all, we don't want that Vestal flame, that internal flame, to go out, because we're paying so much attention to everybody else and their needs and their things. But we also don't want that fire within us to burn out of control either. And so with Vesta, there is great wisdom in figuring out what is the balance. What are the things that make my flame get low and weak? And what are the things that overwhelm my fire and make it so that it's so big that it's burning out of control? And getting a handle on those things. The answers to those questions, of course, are going to come on a day-by-day, question-by-question answer, depending on what we're doing in our lives and what's going on, which is why we look toward that internal flame. We look to practices like meditation or walking alone in nature without anything coming into your ears, tuning into the land, to the cycles, etc. Because it is when we slow down and we do those things that we are able to connect in with our internal temple. So there's more. The themes around Vesta are varied, actually, which makes her one of my favorite asteroids to work with. And her themes pop up in different sections of our lives, depending on what we're doing and what's going on. But I want to leave you this week, after you've just listened to this talk, I want to leave you with a few things to ponder. First of all, how connected are you with your higher self, with your body? And your body is a form of your higher self. Your body has many answers for you if you tune in to listen. How often are you stopping to take a deep breath and sense into the field of awareness? How often are you in the present moment, which is just right here, right now, in any moment? It's the slowing down to pay attention to the richness of the details. What does the air smell like? What is the temperature of the air? What are all of the sounds that you're hearing in this moment? We are a society that is very distractible. We have information pumped into our ears and eyes constantly. And in many ways, distraction is necessary because we don't want to feel. It's very hard to feel. And when we do tune into what we feel, a lot of what we hit is fear and anxiety. And so learning how to tune into your Vestal flame, into your temple energy, is really helpful in soothing of that anxiety and of allowing you to actually feel into what is here right now. Because what you'll find is that what is here right now is not necessarily what's here in a moment. And it isn't what you were just feeling. We come to understand that these emotions that we wish not to feel, that we allow ourselves to be distracted from, are fleeting. And because they're fleeting, they aren't quite as impactful as we fear that they are. This is a good week to be practicing tuning into that internal temple. And you can even do a visualization around what your internal temple looks like. What's in there? Do you have lotus flowers? Are the ceilings glass? Are you able to see sunlight coming in? Are there sounds of water? Or maybe your temple is dark and mysterious and smells of sandalwood and sounds of chants. We all have different and very unique and very special temples that we can go into within ourselves to help us soothe our nervous system, to help us get grounded and come back into reality, and most of all, to tend to that inner flame, that part of ourselves that we must keep burning. We must tend to that flame so that we can be of value and benefit to the planet, to the collective, to those that love us, to God, and most especially to ourselves, our higher selves. All right, I hope this was helpful. I'll see you all next week.